Hey Internet, Ryan here with some big news. This show finally has its first sponsor! I mean, you can still go to patreon.com/evacstation to support us directly, but we also want you to check out our new sponsor. I'm actually kind of excited. I gotta read for you. Here we go. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch. Do not question your reality. Do not question your place in life. In fact, do not do anything. And if you continue to ask questions, we will find you. We know where you live. And wait. Did Aaron really sign us up with these guys? This can't be right. Guys, please, for the moment, just stick to patreon.com/evacstation. I'm gonna get to the bottom of whatever this is. Anyway, enjoy the show.
Welcome to the After Credits Cast, totally not supported by a vague yet menacing government agency. Nope, never heard of them. Know nothing about them. Certainly not enough to be taken prisoner or be lobotomized. Yep, I'm Aaron J. Waseska, and I'm just playing it cool. And with me today, also totally not against his will, is Ryan Metters.
Hello, listeners.
Ryan, are you okay? They take you to the back room or something?
I am just fine.
Excellent. Well, while we're figuring that out, let me just remind everybody you can go to patreon.com/evacstation. You can also visit us on our Facebook, Twitter, or Tumblr. You can also go to the various platforms of choice to listen to this podcast. That includes YouTube, Peepa, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and I think we're even sending out some smoke signals, because we're hoping someone will find us at some point, wherever we are. So Ryan, how you feeling? How you doing?
Sorry. Yes, I'm doing pretty good. I completely do not remember going to that back room at all. Yeah, no, I'm great. Great.
Oh, good.
Great.
Yeah, those guys over there watching that back room, doing a stellar job over there. You guys...
They are.
Keep it up.
Bravo, guys. Keep up the good work.
Yep. Totally not menacing government agents in any way or shape or form. Let's move on to our first segment of this podcast I'm sure everyone's excited for. It's the What You Watchin' segment, where we talk about what we've been watching this past week, and certainly nothing confidential or illegal.
No.
Ryan, what have you been watching this past week?
So, this will be actually a lot of fun for you, because I know you've been singing this series' praises for the longest time, and I finally have now caught up, realizing what it's about. But Allegra put me on to CinemaSins.
Ooh.
So, when you would say roll credits, I now understand what the fuck you mean.
I think I've ruined movies for Amanda, because I say that every fucking time we watch a movie together now.
Oh yeah, no, that's our thing. That's our thing now. Whenever somebody starts, like, we hear a voiceover, we'll just lean over to each other and say narration, ding. No, but I'm having a grand old time with it. It's fun watching some of the movies that I love and like watching them kind of riff on it. It's a lot of fun. I actually just watched the CinemaSins for Get Out, which was just a bunch of fun. I also love that while they take the piss out of a lot of movies, they also give props where props are due.
Absolutely.
So I think it's really, really cool.
But it's funny because I remember the first episode I watched was way back when the channel started. It was the Green Lantern episode. Did you see that one yet?
Yes, we watched that right after we saw Green Lantern for this podcast.
Man, I miss the bonus rounds they used to do. Those are fucking great. But no, so I remember watching that for the first time, and I'm like, this series is actually pretty funny. Like, it's got some critical eye to it, like you would expect from, like, film buffs, but they're not, like, advertising themselves as critics. They're just comedians more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen a lot of critics on Twitter and other social media platforms say, oh, they're not real critics. They're not. You can't like these guys at all. They're terrible. One critic I actually follow for my usual movie reviews for comic book movies, just to give me a heads up as to if it's gonna be good or not. I usually watch him for the DC movies at least. He like absolutely hates them, and I'm like,
really?
And I'm like, that's a little excessive. I mean, I understand that maybe you don't like the idea of a film critique being boiled down to this mathematical formula, so to speak, or this very strict scoring system. But I mean, it's all in good fun. I have a good time with it, from what I've seen.
Seriously,
I will say his newer episodes of the past year and a half, a little long for my taste. Like, I love his older stuff that's in the realm of like 5 to 10 minutes, but he's gone to some 20-minute ones. I'm like, man, this is a little too long. Just a bit too long. Yeah. Any particular favorites of yours?
I don't know. I've just been kind of watching them in a whirlwind because Allegra's kind of introducing me to a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube. But whenever I have 15 or so minutes to just kind of kill and I want to like watch something while I eat, I just pull up his list of movies that he's done and try and just watch something fun. So I don't think I have any particular favorites. I think one of my favorites that I just watched a couple of days ago, I would say, is the Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which is a lot of fun. They did they did a bonus act. They did a bonus round with how many times that they said that they dropped the N-bomb, which was hilarious.
I can't remember if they did that for Django Unchained. I'll have to go back and check that out.
Oh, I need to check out Django Unchained. Oh, I really do.
Well, my week real quick. So off podcast, Ryan, I told you I was getting back into some video game modding with Smash Bros. But until I actually get into it really hardcore, it's just more me doing research on it. But what I have been playing though are a couple of Romhacks and fan games for the Pokemon series.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, I got a little bored over the holiday break, and I started one of them up, and I've been kind of playing them both off and on a little bit. I'm a little off right now because I'm trying to work on other stuff at the moment. But the two games I've been messing around with are Pokemon Blaze, or is it Glazed? I think it's Glazed Edition. And then the other one is Pokemon Insurrection. Or is it Insurgents? I think it's Pokemon Insurgents, now I remember right.
I was about to say, like, is this where Ash gets to fight the Borg with fucking Pokemon? What the fuck?
So in Glazed, it's okay. So I guess for both games, you get whole new regions completely, and you explore basically all the same Pokemon that exist. Each of them have their own gimmick, though. Glazed, I'm trying to remember what that gimmick is exactly. It's been a while since I picked that one up. In Insurgents, if I'm remembering the name right now, I'm probably misremembering it again. In that one, there's a new species of Pokemon known as Delta Pokemon. Basically, it's the exact same Pokemon that already exist, but they're like mutated with some like weird experimentations. So a lot of the classic Pokemon you've come to know from Gen 1 through I want to say even do Gen 6 Pokemon with this. They have different typings, learn new abilities, and just look a little different. And it's interesting. And the storyline can be a little darker. You fight some cults. It's interesting. But that one is run on Game Maker, and it runs a little shitty. it chugs a bit. Like, it chugs, and I don't know if it's my computer, because I'm playing on my old laptop, or if it's literally just Game Maker's not optimized for this level of game, so to speak. They might be that one. The other one is a Pokemon Emerald Romhack, and it's pretty straightforward and simple. Runs really smooth. It runs like butter, but it's also... They're both at the same problem of being really grindy. And I don't know about you, Ryan, but while I love my RPGs and JRPGs, I don't like excessive grind if I don't have to do it.
You don't say.
Like, the best game in the world for this is Chrono Trigger, because you can beat every enemy in the game once, encounter them all and beat them all once, and you have leveled up enough to fight the final boss. That is the absolute perfect amount of grind, where it's like you just have to explore and fight everybody once, and then just get to the end of the game. I don't necessarily like
agree.
running over a route like for 3 hours trying to level up a fucking thing. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it's not a good look.
I will say though, a point to Insurgents though, because it has a secret base you can play around with, and one of the features you can buy in the game, and it's like with in-game money, not real money, no microtransactions. It's a fan thing. You can buy a level up trainer, which sits in your base, and you can challenge him, and he will basically lose battles on purpose for you to level up like your shitty Pokemon quickly.
What?
So if you just hatch some babies, you're like, well, I'm out in like the 5th gym. I need to level this guy up quick. You can literally level him up in like maybe half an hour at most.
Oh wow! Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty slick. I actually leveled up my Togepi really fast to that, so it was pretty nice. Now I have a Togetic who knows no attacks. I didn't realize that Togetic learns its attacks at lower levels, and it evolves by happiness. So I'm like, oh, so I should have just taken my time with Togepi rather than force it to level up so fast. I'm an idiot. Yeah, but it's a good time. If you guys were looking for something to get your fix until the new Pokemon games come out, which, when this comes out, will be like another probably 4 or 5 months, some fan games are worth your time. Just check them out. Just don't tell Nintendo. They might, throw the ban hammer at them.
Yeah, I can see it coming.
Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to today's movie. Welcome to our little break from comic book superheroes with The Kingdom of Monsters.
Yep,
this week,
we're here, boys.
This week, we'll be discussing the legendary studio reboot of Godzilla, released in 2014 and directed by Gareth Edwards to kickstart the Monsterverse. More on that next week. This film will go on to gross a total of $529,076,000 worldwide, which is just a little over 3 times what it cost.
Nice.
The cast we have today includes Juliette Binoche, Sally Hawkins, David... my mouse is in the way. David Strathairn, Carson Bold, CJ Adams, Bryan Cranston,
Walter White.
He's the man who knocks, I believe. Ken Watanabe, and the twins, Aaron Taylor Johnson and Elizabeth Olsen.
That was super gross because they had a kid.
I know, it's really weird. This movie did win some awards. I'll run those through real quick. We had the Golden Trailers for Best Summer Blockbuster of 2014 TV Spot. That's oddly specific. And the Poster and Best International Poster Awards as well. It also won a Match Flick Flickr Award for Most Wanton Destruction.
Wanton is what you mean.
That's right. I'm
not wonton.
I've heard it pronounced
They destroyed
both ways.
So many wontons.
But they were so delicious.
Smashed through the wontons. Oh my god.
What's funny is Batman vs Superman would come out a year after this, and it didn't win this award. So I'm wondering what beat Batman vs Superman for that award.
Yeah, that would be that. I will have to look into that.
The Seattle Film Critics for Best Sound Design. That's fair. And the World Soundtrack Awards for the Film Composer of the Year, courtesy of Alexandre Desplat.
I will give that to them because the soundtrack was actually was really fantastic.
Pretty good music. Legendary seems to do pretty good with soundtracks from what I've seen thus far.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have some fun facts over at the Fun Facts Science Corner. Ryan, what do you got for me today?
I have some fun names that I have to now try to pronounce on the fly.
Welcome to my world.
What do you mean I should read these scripts before we air? Anyway, Dr. Ishiro Serizawa was named after Ishiro Honda, director of Godzilla in 1954. And Dr. Daisuke Serizawa is one of the main characters. So I like that we got a little bit of name game in there for the first fun fact.
Mm-hmm.
Now, next up, in the Brody home in 2014 Janjira, a terrarium can be seen with a roach crawling on it labeled Mothra.
I did catch that. That was cute.
And last but not least, about 45 minutes into the movie, there's a scene of a party on a beach in Honolulu, and a girl notices the ocean pulling back away from the shore very quickly, with frothing bubbles on the water. Now, she alerts her father, who tells the others to run from the oncoming tsunami forced by the arrival of Godzilla. Gojira. I'm sorry, small tangent. I just love how we have to have at least one Japanese person on file for these movies so they can say the name correctly, and then it will never be said correctly again by anybody else.
To be fair, if they didn't have that, we'd be recreating the 1998 movie, and we're not going to talk about that right now.
Oh, you don't want to talk about Matthew Broderick?
Ryan,
with the Cashmere remix.
Ryan, wait for like 3 more weeks, and we'll talk about it because there's actually gonna be a reference to it in Final Wars.
Okay, sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. Back to the fun fact. In 2004, a 10-year-old Tilly Smith learned about the warning signs of tsunamis at Danes Hill High School in Oxshott, Surrey, in the United Kingdom. Less than 2 weeks later, she used that knowledge to warn others of an oncoming tsunami caused by the 2004 Indian Ocean earthquake, saving nearly 100,000 foreign tourists at Mai Khao Beach in Thailand. So I like that they also threw that in the movie too.
Yep, that's some cool stuff. That's some cool stuff.
Good fun facts, sir. Good fun facts.
I try to pull some good ones. Let's go ahead and do some initial thoughts before we jump into the synopsis here. Ryan, what were your initial thoughts going into this movie?
So, I hadn't seen this one in a good long while, and revisiting it, there's a bit of the movie that leaves me wanting, honestly. I think the monster design was fantastic. I think every time the monsters showed up, it was just ridiculously cool and just amazing to see. I think aside from the first 20 minutes, the humans mean absolutely nothing in this movie. Like, why? Like, every time I see a scene with humans in it, I'm like, why am I not watching Godzilla fight these two crazy ass, like, things? Why? I mean, you could see Bryan Cranston emote his ass off and, like, play a grieving yet semi-crazy father who somehow knows more about this situation than the people at Monarch. And we're like, okay, well, maybe Bryan Cranston's gonna get pulled onto the team. No. We could not. We can't pay that man enough to have him in throughout the entire movie, so no, he has to die.
I want to say one thing before we get too deep into it, and that's that any criticism we launch towards the human actors, I want to put, like we did this before with a movie, I don't remember which one now, but I want to put Bryan Cranston in a bubble and say that anything we say does not impact him, because I'm going to say this right now, he is probably one of my favorite actors of all time. Like, I have yet to see him anything bad, or I should say I haven't yet to see him do anything bad, so...
No lie. I mean, and like while I wholeheartedly agree with that, I wouldn't say that my dislike of the human portions of it was to do with the actors. I don't think there were any, like, really bad actors or any bad performances. I just think that...
Too many of them.
They're, like, no. I feel like they were so separate and so removed from what the crux of the movie was about, which is Godzilla shows up to fight these two fucking, like, terrestrial, like, the two Mutos. And I'm like... But we're not seeing that. And for the first good half of the movie, every time we get close to seeing, like, the clash, the camera pulls away. Like, not yet. And we're like, man, fuck you, movie. Give me what I came to see.
I have words.
But, yeah, I'm sorry. I went super long. I liked a good amount of it. I think the rest of it kind of detracted from it. And we'll get deeper into that when we actually start talking about the synopsis.
Well, I'll keep my initial thoughts brief. I remember being told that it takes a while for Godzilla or any real action to actually happen. This is my first time seeing it, and I can tell you those claims are certainly not exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, are you ready for this synopsis?
I am. Let's see it.
All right, here we go. First, I want to thank the people of Monarch for editing this week's synopsis. Helps me avoid errors and sounding like an idiot live. I can't guarantee that won't be the case, though. Here we go. This film starts in the 1950s, showing bomb tests on the Bikini Islands. These were merely tests, and were certainly not an attempt to kill or awaken any kind of ancient creature. Any report you hear contradicting these claims are false. The film then jumps to 1999, 1 year after the other Godzilla movie, where we will see a mine after a standard mine collapse. They happen all the time. They are hazardous conditions. We are sorry for the loss of anyone who died. Certainly not death by some gigantic monster. Because they don't exist.
Of course not.
Meanwhile, in Japan, a nuclear meltdown occurs, wiping out a large part of the map. Many workers died, but according to reports, it was due to negligence of one of the staff. Again, not a monster. Certainly not a kaiju. I don't even know what that is. Sounds like some kind of vegetable.
It's definitely made up.
Yep. Anyway, 15 years pass, and one of the scientists from the facility, a Joe Brody, violates some rules, breaking into private property owned by Monarch. His son then comes along, and they both witness an incident involving Redacted. I'm not used to these synopses blocking out text. I'm sure it's not important. Joe Brody dies, and his son, Kick-Ass, is still alive and is escorted off the premises to return home. Eventually. The Redacted, still kind of weird, disappears, and another Redacted appears in Las Vegas.
How are you guys doing that in real time? I see him saying the words, but I hear redacted. What the fuck?
I guess this is a little annoying. How is anyone supposed to follow on if everything is redacted? Anyway, the citizens of Vegas run in terror at the sight of, I'm going to call him Gamblor, and something is certainly not swimming in the ocean towards these redacted entities. The first Redacted appears in Honolulu, where our protagonist is on a layover to San Francisco. Wait, is this movie called Godzilla? How and why is this movie focused on a guy who played a shittier version of Quicksilver? Oh wait, here we go. While Redacted attacks a large nuclear transport, Redacted emerges from the ocean to fight. However, the first Redacted sprouts wings and flies us to escape. Seriously, how could anyone follow on with the synopsis with all this shit blocked out? Is anyone following along? I'm a little confused.
I've got Redacted 1 and Redacted 2.
And now we have a third Redacted.
Oh boy, here we go.
Boy. Ford Brody eventually gets to the mainland, America, thanks to the various military transports. Upon arrival, he is given the task to set up a nuclear warhead to bait and kill one of the Redacted. Wait, why are we sending more nuclear weapons in? Don't these things eat radiation? Or are we just trying to overstuff them?
It's pretty dumb, guys.
A little bit. Anyway, this plan fails, as you would expect, to do anything helpful, and the two Redacted unite in San Francisco with a third Redacted in pursuit. Fighting happens when Ford Brody and the other military personnel are dropped into the city to find the nuclear device they just lost and disarm it before it kills innocent people.
In one of the coolest fucking scenes
I gotta say,
I've ever seen.
I gotta say, it looks really cool, but when you remember the context of why they're there, you're like, yeah, this is a little dumb.
You got to put that out of your mind. You just
do.
have to watch them descend into hell. It's super duper cool. Don't worry about the fact that they're actually the reasons why it's about to become a hellscape. Don't worry about that.
Fair. Very fair. Ford and company, not related to the Ford company, defuses the bomb before leaving the nest of the Redacted. Ford then blazes it up, 420 every day, but Mama Redacted is a little bit pissed. I understand. They fight some more, and we keep cutting away to the main characters running from the action and getting the bomb away. Eventually, Ford is on a boat with the bomb and drives it out into the ocean. Redacted kills one of the other two Redacted. The nuclear weapon goes off and the day is saved. Any reports of a gigantic savior or king of monsters is all fake news. Believe it, none of it. It was all just a routine test scenario for our boys in the military. Good job, boys. You did fine.
Good job. Okay, guys. That's pretty much a wrap. So if you guys want to call it a night, I mean, we'll just pack up.
Yeah, we got this under control. I'm just gonna use this button here. This it's called the cone of silence. That way, y'all outside this cone can't hear us. Okay?
Yeah, it's just to cover up the clamor of us putting all this shit away. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we don't want to interrupt you boys with all the work you're doing. Okay, it's very important.
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. Hang on, let me get the sound effect going. Okay, it's on.
Okay, fuck. Finally, Godzilla. Jesus. Okay,
Uh,
Godzilla fought a bunch of like big ass beetle things that were hiding in in the ground from a time before people were actually a thing. It's so good to actually say that and get it off my chest.
yeah, I'm not sure why this stuff is supposed to be kept secret, but it's what they want. So there are sponsors, we can't argue that. But with this cone of silence, I think we're good for a little bit.
All right, excellent, excellent. So we do have some discussion after the redacted fucking fest. I hope you guys followed along because we're going to be talking about this now.
Yep. So just for records, the two redacted that were up first were the Mutos, not related to Yukimoto, but like other Mutos. And then there's also Godzilla, who was the third one, who was a big, giant, scary reptile.
You mean those two first ones didn't come from the Shadow Realm?
I don't think they did.
Fuck. Gotta rewatch that shit.
All right. So Ryan, now that we've got a little bit of privacy here, what do you think of the movie? What are your thoughts?
So yeah, I mean, all the scenes with the actual monsters in them look fucking amazing. I really, really like the design of the two Mutos. The like first and foremost, when I saw the first one and saw the wings deployed, my mind instantly went to, oh my god, it's Mothra. But of course, I am not the most avid kaiju and like Godzilla fan, so I had no idea that I was just entirely wrong.
I was gonna say, yeah, Mothra was like so much bigger.
Yeah,
we're gonna find out here in a few weeks.
I was unaware, but now I know. And yeah, so that's gonna be that will be a thing that we'll see in a couple of weeks. But I really, really like the design of them, both the male and the female. It puts me in mind of the monster from Cloverfield, which I thought was one of the best designed monsters I'd ever seen.
Yeah, I do think that these monsters and the skull crawlers we're going to see next week, they kind of harken to the Cloverfield design. They're not both like one-to-one, but I can kind of see some inspirations from that monster.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
So when seeing the Mutos in the trailers and all the promotional material long before I saw this movie, I was kind of underwhelmed. And I mean, I didn't see the movie, so obviously, I can't say for sure back then. But I don't know, seeing that they weren't like kaiju monsters from back in the day that like actually were from the Godzilla canon, I was kind of like, I'll wait. I can wait and see this later. Seeing them now in action, though, they aren't horrible by any means. I mean, I'll admit that they aren't the most they aren't the most innovative designs when it comes to kaiju. Like, if you've seen the fucking plethora of stuff that Godzilla's fought throughout the years, these things are pretty pale in comparison, but they're not bad, especially for like a modern designed film. So
yeah. And so now this is actually something that kind of jumped out at me when since we're talking on the subject of monster design.
Yeah.
Did you find these monsters to be abnormally fucking quiet at times? Because I'm primarily thinking of like the last, like pretty much the last scene before Godzilla pretty much fucking fatalities the Mama Muto. But you see the Muto just like crawling up, and she's like staring the bomber guy in the face, like, I'm about to fuck you up because you killed all my kids. And then completely unbeknownst to anyone, Godzilla has made his way out from under a fucking building that fell on him. This massive fucking titan walked up behind and bit her in the neck, like, unbeknownst to anybody. You also, I'm also put into mind of the flying Muto that just is essentially pretty much fucking dead silent until, like, while he's soaring through the air until he catches, like, Godzilla, unawares. Did that kind of throw you for a loop? Because it did for me a little bit.
I didn't notice it when watching the movie, but now that you mention it, I do recall not really hearing much of them making noise. Like, you did hear a bit there and here, but it wasn't, like, anything significant.
They were like ninjas, man.
Well, like I go back to films like Cloverfield, like we mentioned, or Jurassic Park even, and everything made noises there. If you go back to Alien, monster noises there. I don't know if it was a lack of interest in designing sounds for them or what, but yeah, it's kind of odd that these gigantic fucking creatures just aren't making any noises.
Yeah.
I mean, you even have the remixed Godzilla roar, which I'm not opposed to at all. I think that they did a good job with the modern touches on it. But yeah, it just seems odd that they didn't put that much effort into giving these things some like distinctive like screeches and cries. The flying one should have been screeching at the very least.
Yeah.
And I know that sounds tropey, but come on, guys. Everyone's a giant screeching fucking weirdo in the sky.
I'm not mad at it. It just kind of took me by surprise. Like, and I think it was an interesting design choice because the lack of sound, the silence really put a different note on those fights. When you see Godzilla is like entirely consumed with fighting the female, and the male is just kind of stealth bombering his way up behind him. I mean, it definitely adds something to it. It just kind of threw me for a loop when I first came across it.
Yeah. And I'll say the one scene where they drop down, the one you were going on about, the one where they fall down to do their mission and everything, where they like drop down into silence and you just see monsters fighting. The helo jump. Yeah, the helo jump. That scene worked very well visually. And I think that the lack of sound for just that brief instance also kind of helped bring that scene together.
Me too.
But I will say that that's like the one example I could think of where sound was on point, but the lack of lack of monster noises is a little jarring for this kind of thing. That's a good way to put it. Jarring.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So let me. So we're talking about Godzilla action here real quick. So let's focus on that real quick because I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you think it took too long to get to the action in this movie for Godzilla?
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
I mean, I know that's a discussion point that every critic brings up, but I figure we should jump at it real quick.
So it does. I definitely feel like it does. And I'm not, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not mad at it for the first 20 minutes. And it's not even a matter of, like, time. Like, I think 20 minutes is just enough. But the first 20 minutes, you have, like, great performances by Bryan Cranston and Juliette Binoche, just like they're killing it, and you're really invested in the human story. After that, everything that happens with the humans, even the human story with the twins and their incestuous child, you're supposed to be pulled into it, but you never really find yourself like drawn into it. And I mean, not everybody can be Bryan Cranston and Juliette Binoche, but
God, I don't know. I could.
I mean, like I like no shade at all to the other actors. Like I think they put in roles for I think they put in good performances, but I feel like the script from that point on at least doesn't give them enough to work with to really make a compelling story from the humans' perspective. So after the first 20 minutes, all of the human scenes were just, when are we going to get to the monsters? And it's different, and we're going to talk about how different it can be next week. I'm going to stop myself from referencing future movies.
Nope, I know. I was going to say something similar. I was going to say next week we'll have a very different talking point to go on.
Yeah, next week we will have a very different talking point, but I like, next week kind of proves this point wrong, because it's not just like if you're doing a kaiju film, well, it's going to be kaiju scenes and then human scenes that are filler to kind of catch your breath, and then more kaiju scenes. Like, there's a way to do it properly, and we'll talk about how they do it next week.
So I'm gonna dive bomb here real quick with my opinion. So I do think it takes too long to get to the Godzilla stuff, but here's the thing. I think that there's a formula to it, because this movie is in the same vein, so to speak, as Jaws, as Alien, as next week's Kong Skull Island movie. And they all have a similar kind of thing. They have this title creature that's kind of the main attraction of the movie, and you're basically there to watch what happens to the humans when the monster or creature or whatever shows up. And I think there's not a hard set formula. I should probably reiterate that. But I think so this movie's around 2 hours, give or take a few minutes. I think it's like 2:20. But we'll round it to 2 hours just for the sake of simplicity. So in a 2-hour film, you need to have your title monster in the film before the halfway point. Because if you're dividing this into a 3-act structure, you need to introduce this creature at some point within the second act, preferably early on, to introduce the problem, the thing that sets things into motion from Act 1 and Act 2. It doesn't have to be a big reveal. It doesn't have to be anything major. Look what happened in Aliens. What set that off was the chest burster, and disappears, and you don't see the alien in full form for a long-ass time. But that tension and everything you've seen up to that point really sells that monster and sells that tension. We didn't get that here. Now, we do get the other monsters, but again, it takes a while for them to get up, and they aren't... Let's be fair here. While we did talk them a little bit of sugar, they are not the main attraction, and they are nowhere near as interesting as Godzilla when he finally makes his appearance. I think that's a fair criticism there.
That is fair. That is
not that they're bad, just that they're not what we're here to see. It's like the opening act at a Led Zeppelin concert. We're there to see Led Zeppelin. We're not there to see the band before them. They might be good, they might be fine, but they are not Led Zeppelin.
That's very apt. It's a very apt metaphor there.
Yeah, I try.
And yeah, you're right. Like, considering that it did definitely take too goddamn long to get to Godzilla. Godzilla doesn't show up till well past half the movie. Don't like probably around the halfway point. Yeah, maybe.
So I was keeping track of time a little bit, not because I was bored, because I was like curious. Like, okay, so at what point does Godzilla show up? And I thought to myself, the 45-minute mark seems like a very solid point for Godzilla to show up. And Godzilla hadn't shown up at that point. And I'm like, okay, so I don't know where you're at, buddy, but you should have been here by now to at least say hi.
Yeah, I guess, but considering what you just said about how you need to introduce the monster because, like you need to introduce the problem of the movie, Godzilla's not the problem in this movie. Godzilla's the answer to the problem.
Yeah, that's
fair. They introduce, like, the antagonist of the movie pretty much right off, because the antagonist is what caused the destruction of the nuclear power plant, and then its birth ends up killing Bryan Cranston, for which we will never forgive him.
Nope.
Right, but like, in the idea of it takes Godzilla too long, following that kind of logic, it makes sense that they hold off on the answer to the equation for a little longer. They present the problem, then the answer comes out of the ocean like, yo, what the fuck is up?
It also seems kind of weird to me that the first Godzilla picture you decide to do is where Godzilla's the hero. Because, I'm not saying that's bad, but I just think it's odd that you'd start off that way when most depictions of Godzilla up to now kind of depict him as this force of nature that, like, wrecks up human shit because humans have done some pretty gross shit and they still continue to do so.
Okay, now, I was under the impression that the original Godzilla movies followed this similar logic where Godzilla essentially comes out to fight all of these other monsters, and while humanity looks at him like a savior because he ends up saving them from these other monsters, he just comes out to pretty much assert his dominance and then goes back to sleep. So I thought they were hearkening back to original Godzilla kaiju lore. Is that not the case?
I think that's true after the first couple films, but I think the first one, and if anyone in the comments wants to say I'm talking on my ass here, please do so, because I might be wrong. But I think the first film, he was a force of destruction. He was out to basically wreck out Japan as a analogy for the atomic bombs, which, yeah. And they got away from that because, obviously they were like, hey, this monster can still make money, but we don't need to blow up Japan every time we make him a movie monster. Let's have him save some lives instead. So they switched gears after a while, and they created this whole Godzilla pantheon of fucking weirdos that we honestly should take time to look at some point, because it's pretty interesting what they have. But in this scenario, I don't know. I just feel like a modern film that has this, like, darker, grittier approach to it. And let's be fair, they do have a darker aesthetic to it than some of the more recent Godzilla films Toho made at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird that an American company making a grittier reboot of Godzilla chose to make him the savior of mankind in this incident versus having him start off as a villain and then become a hero later.
I mean, it kind of makes sense when you realize that they're building towards Godzilla versus King Kong.
But then
And
that
so
brings
they
the other
got it
question.
they have to essentially build up both of these protagonists from their respective corners before they throw them at each other.
But that brings the other question to mind. Why would they be fighting then? If they're both considered protagonists, what's going to be their aim here? Because and Nicole and I watched this for a side project, which I may actually try to edit and air during this season. We'll see. But we were watching Godzilla vs. King Kong. And Godzilla is the clear aggressor in that movie, awakened by humans. And then the humans, for somehow, have access to King Kong. And they say, hey, let's bring him here, and he can help save us. And so that's how that fight goes down. And I don't think they're going to do something as plain and simple as that for the crossover film here. But I just don't know how you're going to justify them fighting if they're both good guys. You know what I mean?
I mean, it will be interesting if they take the classic, King Kong story where, they go to Skull Island to actually capture King Kong. They bring him back. And now that he's off of Skull Island, which has been separated from the rest of the world, Godzilla wakes up because there's a contender for the throne, so he shows up.
Maybe.
That's what they. That's kind of the angle that they've set in place, where it's just like nature has a natural equilibrium system and an equalizing force, and I think Godzilla is that. And when the Mutos first showed up, Godzilla, without any prompting from anybody, just like, yo, what the fuck is up? And then he kills them, and then he goes back from whence he came. So I think if they bring Kong out of isolation, he will show up eventually.
Maybe. But we'll have to see how they play it, because it's definitely a concept that I think we could talk about for a while and never get a solid answer on until we see a trailer.
Yeah, until we see until we see the movie. Yeah, you're right.
But going back to my point, though, and I don't want to harp on it too much more, because I have other topics I want to hit up real quick. The only reason I consider this to be a very strange, I wouldn't say misfire, but missed opportunity, maybe, is that in the current climate of 2019, this film came out in 2014, but, I mean, the environmental discussions are still as prevalent as ever, if not more so. Mm-hmm. It just seems weird you wouldn't take this opportunity to make Godzilla kind of like this monster to stand in for Mother Earth fighting back after all the shit humans do, especially when, all of the pro-environmentalist stuff is kind of like the big selling point in politics right now.
That's fair. Although I can see how they would want to avoid politicizing the movie.
I don't know. I feel like every film's political if you really dig deep into it.
Yeah, I mean, if you dig deep into it, but there's a difference between making a clever allusion to it and saying, "Oh, this monster is the pinnacle of of the Earth coming against humans for their sins against their planet."
I mean,
I think
be more subtle than Throne of Atlantis, but I mean, it's doable. It's doable.
It's fair.
Okay. So Bryan Cranston is obviously a huge selling point to this movie. I imagine a lot of people.
We've got him in the bubble.
A lot of people came to this movie to see him and were disappointed after the 30-minute mark and he's no longer going to be in the movie. What?
Yeah.
So
the old bait and switch.
So I guess my question to you, Ryan, is this: if you could find a way to get Bryan Cranston in this movie more, would you do it? And if so, how would you want them to do it?
100%. I would have 100% wanted him to be more in the movie. Honestly, I would have had him palling around with fucking Ken Watanabe and the other younger French scientists. These were two people from Monarch, and this crazy old dude in Japan seems to know more about this shit than they do. We need to keep him around and pick his brain. In fact, the only reason they kept his son around is just in case he heard something his dad said. So if you had just not killed the dad off, he could have just been right there telling you what the fuck is up, coming up with these solutions in these situations.
And I feel like the son isn't the most compelling character. Again, Aaron Taylor Johnson, fine actor, did a fine job, but
I don't think they wrote a good enough role.
Not really, and I think the rationale for him being there, i.e., he might have heard what his dad said about this thing, maybe he can tell us the answers. That's the most convoluted reason to keep a guy on staff for.
Yeah, and he only pays off because he read the spine of a book on echolocation, like, for 2 seconds, and it's just like, oh shit, he might be talking to something else.
And I think it would have definitely been more fun to see Bryan Cranston pal around, like you said, with the Doctor, and just seeing them kind of try to figure out the situation. Because
I mean, if we got to King of Monsters and saw that Bryan Cranston was actually now a top-ranking fucking scientist in Monarch, shit, I would absolutely be down for this.
I'd be interested in that too. I would also be fine having Bryan Cranston die off in the process of this film, but I definitely think it was way too early, and I definitely think he should have been more involved, at least for like half the film. One 100%. Quarter of it, it's a bit weak, guys. It's a bit weak. Especially because if you cut to just having him as the primary like role to carry that like beat forward, you can cut out a lot of the human drama that we really aren't invested in at all. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. Again, Aaron Taylor Johnson, you did fine. Your family's fine. The whole thing's fine. But we didn't need it. The military stuff, we've seen it before. This movie has a case of the Transformers, where the title character is in the film, and he's doing cool stuff, but we keep cutting away from the title character to focus on the military characters we don't give a shit about.
Yeah, I get the idea that, you know, the idea that people want a human story to latch onto. Rather than... I mean, like, I do, but I want it to be done right. I don't want it to just be, oh, and here are humans, and since they're humans, you're obviously going to attach to them, right?
No,
right?
No, they're
right?
military boys. I can't attach to military boys.
Yeah, I mean, like, the like I said, the Helo drop was fucking amazing. It's really, really cool. But the rest of it is just like, and the humans are doing something. And here's that flying Muto. Let's go. Okay, humans are doing something again. Hey, he did something good by setting fire to the nest. Good man. All right, I like that. Godzilla. Go back to Godzilla now. Thank you.
But no, like, it really does feel like a Transformers film in that sense, because I remember in the first and second one, and I never saw any of the ones after that, where you'd have these cool shots of Transformers about to do something, and then you transition over to this military guy setting up a rocket or getting a Gatling gun ready. It's like, wait, why? Oh wait, why is Megan Fox's ass on the screen now? Where's my Bumblebee? Where's the Devastator? I want the cool shit. I don't want her ass. Come on.
It's not even that nice, man.
Like, it's fine for like a Hollywood ass, I guess, but like, is it the same as Optimus Prime's ass? No, it's not. I paid for Optimus Prime's ass, and damn it, I want it.
I'm more of a shoulder cannon guy myself, but you know, you could be an ass man.
I mean, fine. You know, teach their own, I suppose. I mean, you got to have some good exhaust ports. That's all I'm saying.
Jesus Christ. No, well, like we'll bring this point up again, like, because I think again, next week we will be talking about it differently and talking about how it does it different. And I definitely think that our movie next week does a really good job in fitting humans into the story in a really interesting and really believable way. I just don't think that it's doable to do what they did in Kong here in Godzilla. And I'll save that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't know. We could talk about balance all day. I think there is a balance you can find, but I think they were definitely off kilter here. And you could even say they might have overcorrected a bit in Kong. I'm not sure if that's accurate, but that's a debate we'll have next week, for sure. But there's definitely some corrections that could be made here on that end. One correction I wish they had
100%.
made is their responses to the Mutos. Because, Ryan, I brought it up in the synopsis, I'm going to bring it up again here. Why are they so goddamn happy to throw nuclear weapons at these things?
So that like to be fair, like, and this is it was actually really interesting. The decision to use the nuclear weapons, I found, was actually the most rational way that they came up with the argument. Like, it was the only thing that they realized would actually draw all three of them to the same place. And their logic was that, well, the last time we tried nuclear weapons on these things, it was before we really knew the technology. We can make bombs like 1,000 times more powerful. They shouldn't be able to withstand the blast. We can draw them away from civilian centers. We can minimize the fallout. We can do all of these good things. Like, they actually had, like, sound points, and it wasn't like they were just pushing ahead, not listening. They were like, honestly, if you have a better idea, please let me know. Otherwise, we have to go with the plan that actually has the best chance of reducing civilian casualties. So I really like how the military was portrayed and how they came with that decision. It was dumb, but I like how they got.
No, don't get me wrong. I like that they were trying to draw them away with the nuclear armaments. I think that part makes sense. But I think trying to use them beyond that, terrible idea. All you're gonna do is just empower them more or hurt people that shouldn't be hurt in the process.
Yeah. I think where they fucked up was that they set the timer for fucking 90 minutes. This is like a whole hour and a half. Really,
guys? Your movie's longer than that.
Like, you've seen how fast these guys move, right? And you see that Godzilla's like a mile away. You're gonna put it at 90 minutes? I would have run that boat with the skeleton crew. Some people who knew they weren't gonna make it out had them set it for 15 minutes and honor their sacrifice. And then as soon as they all got to the boat, they would.
Well, what's funny too is that even though they like had it set up and everything, like even if you did set it for a short time, like would it still have worked even? And you would have only gotten one of them, maybe at best. I don't know. It seems like a very slapped together plan almost. That's just me though.
It definitely was slapped together, but at the same time they're all like, we can't think of anything better. We need to do something.
And I want to add to that too. It's also even more funny that they kept sending in more jets and shit to fight these things, and they kept crashing every fucking time. And I'm like, did anyone not get the memo? Jets should stay off limits here. Get those jets back.
Now what would have been really, really interesting, and I don't know if they ever really got into it, but if it was established that the Flying Muto, because we knew the Flying Muto could do an EMP with just stepping on the ground. We knew that they had an EMP weapon. And it was an assumption that it was pretty clear cut that the female had it as well. But if the Flying Muto could do the EMP in the sky, as fucking quiet as it was, holy shit, that would have been terrifying. And I wish they would have just had one scene where it was doing it in the air. And then it would, because then you're like, well, apparently we can't fucking track this thing. And then all of a sudden planes just start dropping out of the sky after we hear a thump. We're just like, wait, what the fuck? Oh shit, eject! Oh god, it's here! Oh god. That would have ratcheted up the suspense factor a bit, because the thing is fucking deadly quiet and it can knock out our electronics just moments before it decides to grace us with its presence.
Yeah, I don't know what else I could really add to that other than just it seems like this military, while they had a plan in mind, didn't execute it as well as they could have. And I get it, the situation's like super unique. Let's put it that way.
It was rough for them guys, you know, like it was rough.
I guess final question then, Ryan, is are you satisfied with the final battle or do you want more?
Well, I really liked the final battle. I think the decision to have two of them was really, really good, and fighting and seeing Godzilla fight them as a pair was awesome. I wanted more of that. I wanted more of it.
Well, I think we're gonna get more of that here in a few weeks with the Kingdom Monsters, but
yeah. As soon as I realized that there were 3 big ass monsters that were gonna show up, I'm like, yeah, I think they're gonna correct the hell out of how they did it in 2014. Shit. Um, but yeah, I don't think I would change anything about it or about the combatants, except that I just want the fights to be longer. I have a question
Oh,
for
okay.
you though regarding the design. Um, what do you think about the new Godzilla
Um,
design? Because I feel like it harkens back to old school Godzilla, where it's definitely thicker in the middle, and I'm wondering how you feel
I
about
think it's a
that.
very good design. I think it's a little dark to really appreciate the details of it in full effect, but for what we do get to see, it looks really good. I like the effects they have with it glowing and shit. Obviously, it's like a trademark thing, but they do a really good job selling the hell out of it. It's appropriate size, unlike some Godzillas we've seen. Um, Overall, it's a good design, and it deserves an applause that American production got it right this time.
See now I'm gonna bring this up because I actually liked the more lithe design from 2008. I said it. I
Oh,
fucking
you mean
said
the
it. I fucking
1998
said
one?
it. Yeah, the 1998 one.
God, I feel old that
I
I've
liked
seen
it.
that.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, holy shit, I was a babby. No wonder I liked that movie. I'm still thinking about it from my kid eyes. Um, but I like the design. I like the idea of Godzilla being like long and like agile and like mobile, as opposed to just like this big stocky dude. Like he's super strong and really really cool. And I think that modern graphics and design like that has progressed so far where you can make such a big, bulky dude actually seem really imposing and really terrifying. But I don't know. I would have appreciated somebody like that scale, but also more lithe and more like quick movement.
I don't know. I feel like giant creatures and giant mechs of that size, it's hard for me to really believe that they can move that quick. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's just from a visual standpoint, it's just like my brain can't connect the dots that, oh, this big towering monster can move that quick. Now, granted, Zilla's a lot shorter, a lot smaller, a lot sleeker, so it makes sense it could move quicker. But in this case, it wouldn't make any sense to me.
Hmm. All right, that's a fair argument.
Um, But yeah, we'll see. We'll talk more about Zilla and all that stuff in future films because we'll be talking. We should give a rundown real quick. So this week we're doing Godzilla. Next week we're doing Kong Skull Island, which came out like a year or two after this one. And then what's next? After that,
Actually, I think it was 3 years, wasn't it?
I think you're right. I
2017.
think you're right.
Yeah.
After that, we're going to be talking about two Japanese films, Shin Godzilla and Godzilla Final Wars, which is the last Toho produced film before the current strain of movies we have going on right now. So we'll get to see a dip. We're going to dip our toes into pre-legendary era Godzilla, just a dip, just to see what it was like.
Indeed.
And
indeed.
then we'll round it all up with King of
And
Monsters, and that'll be a good time, I think.
I honestly can't wait for King of Monsters. Like after watching this and the movie for next week, I'm like I've gotten myself re-amped for King of Monsters. Like holy shit, this is gonna be really good.
I mean, I've been
actually.
pretty excited since I've seen the trailers because it's got Millie Brown in it from Stranger Things, and I'm going to be very disappointed she's only in it for like the first 20 minutes.
Oh yeah, they're gonna give her the Bryan Cranston cut.
Legendary's like,
She's gonna move a pen with her mind and then be killed by King Ghidorah or some shit.
King Ghidorah's like, hey, little girl, could you like do the thing from the show? And she's like, what? Do the thing. Okay, here. Cool, and I'm going to eat you. Nom 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 nom.
The Demigorgon says hello.
And if you want to say hello to us, you should go to our Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook. And we also have an email address. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is Bryan Cranston deserves more screen time at gmail. sorry, my inner monologue slipped out there. That is evacstation at gmail.com.
Indeed. If you want to reach out to us there, you can tell us which Godzilla you preferred, or which movies you want to talk about down the road. Or you could start with our next arc, or our next, not arc, I guess, but like next season. Because after we're done with Godzilla, we'll be moving on to the X-Men.
Are y'all ready?
I like the song. It's really good. I'll probably just make that the intro for the whole season.
You should.
I really should. I might find different versions of it, like a metal version, a polka version. Just see if I can find different versions of it. I'm sure I can find it.
I have no doubt that it exists, but it will blow my mind hearing it.
We should probably tone it down a little bit. The cone of silence is losing some battery here.
Oh shit.
That was our podcast. Thank you for joining us this week, and next week we will be back with more completely nondescript, completely legal, and completely normal podcasting experiences for you. Indeed. So again, reach out to all the usual places. Follow us and like us in the usual things, rating, reviews, all that cool stuff. And also, thanks to our sponsor, Monarch, because beyond truth, beyond logic lies truth. And thank you for watching, and we'll see you after the credits.
Bye, guys.
Welcome to the after credits. Wow, I fucked that up.